morning began with the low grinding sound of steel tracks clawing at the earth. Overhead, the buzz of UAV engines built into a harsh metallic drone, circling like a swarm of insects before the storm. On the eastern plains of Ukraine, the mist of dawn clung to the fields. At 6:18 a.m., an armored column, heavily armed, tightly packed, and stretching over 4 kilometers, rolled across the horizon. The ground shook with the weight of dozens of T-90 tanks, armored troop carriers, and supply trucks. Above, more than 30 suicide drones flew parallel to the convoy, their wings angled downward like birds of prey waiting to strike. The column moved with discipline. Engines roared in unison, maintaining near-perfect spacing. Inside the command vehicles, officers barked updates across encrypted radios. Fuel levels, movement speed, estimated time to breach Ukraine's first defensive belt. Their mission was clear: punch through the Kolmyst defensive line within the hour and open a corridor for Russian artillery and missile units to flood the front. They believed they had surprise on their side. They did not. The Silent Watchers. 3 kilometers away, hidden on a wooded ridge, a Ukrainian reconnaissance team observed every movement through thermal scopes. They logged the convoy's composition, tracked the spacing of vehicles, and relayed precise coordinates to the brigade command post. No one spoke unless necessary. Every second mattered. For weeks, Ukrainian combat engineers had reshaped this ground into something deceptively ordinary. Beneath the soil lay a web of anti-tank mines, command-detonated charges, and buried explosives designed to channel, trap, and then destroy anything that dared roll across. Colonel Andriy Mykolenko, commander of the 93rd Mechanized Brigade, had overseen the operation. He knew this was not just another raid. Intelligence suggested this was North Korea's largest direct combat deployment since the war began. Satellite imagery and intercepted communications showed the force had left a logistics hub near Donetsk just before dawn. If Ukraine failed to stop them here, heavy artillery could be positioned within striking distance of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk within days. The stakes were absolute. Building the trap. The farmland ahead of the column looked untouched. Rows of tilled soil, abandoned barns, dirt tracks stretching to the horizon. But for 14 nights straight, under cover of darkness, Ukrainian engineers had transformed the area into a hidden kill zone. Over 120 TM-83 directional mines were buried at staggered intervals. TM-62 pressure mines and seismic triggered devices waited beneath fresh dirt. Entire sections were wired to collapse. Bridges or carve-out craters large enough to halt a retreat. The placement was deliberate. Instead of laying a continuous belt, engineers created false corridors, narrow strips of seemingly safe ground, to draw the enemy in deeper before sealing them off. Every charge was connected to the brigade's fire control network. The instant a tank crossed into the zone, drones overhead could send targeting data to HQ in seconds, triggering remote detonations or calling down artillery. It was a chessboard laid in soil and steel. The advance. The lead T-90s approached the first kill zone at precisely 6:42 a.m. Engines growled, turrets scanned the fields, infantry rode atop APCs with rifles slung casually, expecting nothing more than token resistance. On their comms, officers pushed their drivers to maintain speed. To them this was a routine advance, another push westward across open ground. But the silence was deceptive. Beneath their tracks lay hundreds of kilograms of explosives, waiting for the order. At the forward command post, Colonel Mykolenko stood over the detonation controls. His jaw was set. The timing had to be perfect. Too early, and the column might retreat. Too late, and some vehicles could breach the line. The enemy was 1 kilometer from the center of the trap. The first blow. At 6:47 a.m., the ground erupted. A pressure mine beneath the lead tank detonated with a muffled thunderclap. The 20-ton turret of the T-90 catapulted into the air, spinning before slamming back to earth in a spray of dirt and fire. Panic rippled through the convoy. Drivers braked hard, colliding with vehicles in front. Infantry leapt from troop carriers, scattering across the fields. Then came the second wave. Remote detonated charges went off in sequence, collapsing the dirt track and tearing through the tightly packed column. Fuel trucks exploded, showering burning fuel across nearby APCs. A rolling chain of fireballs swallowed the vanguard in smoke and flame. Above, Ukrainian drones circled, relaying live footage to the command post. Officers watched as heat signatures disappeared, one after another. Mykolenko gave the next order. Artillery, fire for effect. Shells rained down on the rear of the column, cutting off escape. Shrapnel ripped through armor plating. A logistics vehicle carrying munitions exploded in a blast so violent, it registered on seismic sensors miles away. Within minutes, the 4-kilometer-long column fractured into chaos. The counterattack. While North Korean troops scrambled for cover, Ukraine's second phase began. From the tree line, T-84 Oplot tanks surged forward, engines roaring. They fired armor-piercing rounds into the trapped T-90s, striking before enemy gunners could rotate their turrets. Behind them, mechanized infantry advanced through drainage ditches, launching RPGs and RKG-3 grenades at immobilized APCs. Overhead, Bayraktar TB2 drones unleashed precision-guided missiles into the rear echelon, igniting supply vehicles and command trucks. North Korea's suicide UAVs attempted to counterstrike, diving toward Ukrainian positions. But short-range air defenses, Shilka autocannons and heavy machine guns, lit the sky with tracers, shredding the drones before they could reach their targets. The trap was now a killing ground. Collapse of the column. By 7:30 a.m., the North Korean formation was in ruins. 40% of their vehicles were destroyed or disabled. Survivors attempted to retreat east only to hit secondary minefields or be cut down by artillery. Some infantry abandoned vehicles and hid in barns or drainage canals. But Ukrainian snipers with thermal optics tracked them down one by one. A reconnaissance drone captured the moment a BMP tried to reverse out of the zone, only to detonate a buried charge and flip onto its side, its crew spilling into the dirt. Radio intercepts revealed confusion and panic. Orders overlapped. Some units went completely silent. Then, at 7:46 a.m., Ukrainian forces located a North Korean command vehicle pinned under debris. Inside was Colonel Ri Yong-hak, commander of the entire offensive. By 8:10 a.m., the battlefield was silent except for the crackle of burning wrecks. Initial counts reported 42 vehicles destroyed, over 200 soldiers killed, wounded, or captured. The offensive thrust, meant to showcase North Korea's strength, was annihilated in under 2 hours. The aftermath drone footage of the battlefield spread quickly. A 2-kilometer stretch of road littered with blackened hulls, scorched fields, and spiraling smoke columns. But another image went viral first. A Ukrainian soldier offering a water bottle to a dazed North Korean captive. His uniform burned, his face streaked with ash. No words, just the gesture. For Ukraine, the battle was more than a tactical victory. It was proof that preparation, patience, and discipline could dismantle even the largest armored assault. For Russia and North Korea, it was a reminder that brute force alone could not guarantee success. Yet, as the smoke cleared, questions remained unanswered. Where was the second echelon of the North Korean force? Would Russia commit its reserves to recover from the humiliation? And was this assault merely a probe for something larger, waiting beyond the horizon? The August 14th ambush closed with victory for Ukraine. But the war had only written another chapter. The next move was already coming. If you were in Colonel Mykolenko's position, would you have detonated earlier to guarantee destruction, or waited, risking breakthrough to maximize the kill zone? Leave your thoughts in the comments. This was SHIELD Military. Stay alert for the next mission. The battlefield still smoldered. Blackened hulks of tanks dotted the fields, silent monuments to a failed offensive. Smoke twisted into the morning air, visible for kilometers. Ukrainian engineers picked carefully through the wreckage, disarming unexploded munitions and marking captured equipment for recovery. Yet, even as soldiers documented the destruction, intelligence officers warned the battle was far from over. The enemy regroups. At 9:20 p.m. on August 14th, just hours after the ambush, satellite reconnaissance detected new armored concentrations near the Donetsk border. Unlike the morning's offensive, these formations were larger, dispersed across multiple staging areas, and supported by heavier artillery. Intercepted communications suggested Russian officers had taken direct command, furious over the humiliating rout. North Korea, unwilling to let the defeat define its first major expeditionary operation, doubled down, promising reinforcements. For Ukraine, the message was clear. The August 14th ambush had succeeded, but it had also triggered a wider escalation. Preparing the next layer. Colonel Mykolenko knew the enemy would not make the same mistake twice. Surprise had been the greatest weapon, and it would not work again. So the brigade began shifting tactics. Instead of static kill zones, mobile strike teams, armored groups supported by drones and electronic warfare units, were ordered into concealed positions along secondary roads. Artillery batteries rotated constantly to avoid counter-battery fire. In the air, Bayraktar TB2s and newly arrived Western-supplied MQ-9 Reapers patrolled high above, searching for any sign of the second thrust. Electronic warfare operators worked tirelessly, jamming North Korean drone feeds, feeding false GPS signals, and even hijacking some UAVs to crash them into their own supply lines. But despite these precautions, the scale of enemy movement suggested something larger. Perhaps a combined Russian-North Korean offensive designed to overwhelm Ukraine's stretched defenses. Inside the command bunker. At the forward headquarters near Kramatorsk, tension was thick. Maps were crowded with colored markers. Red for enemy concentrations, blue for Ukrainian units, green for Allied reconnaissance zones. Reports came in by the hour. Satellite scans showed rail convoys moving artillery pieces from Rostov. Drone operators confirmed long-range rocket launchers arriving near Luhansk. Partisan groups inside occupied Donetsk relayed rumors of North Korean officers demanding vengeance for August 14th. At the center of the bunker, Colonel Mykolenko stood silent, his hand tracing the likely routes of the next attack. His brigade had struck first and struck hard, but he knew lightning rarely hit twice in the same way. The next battle would not be fought on their terms. A storm gathering. By dawn on August 15th, reconnaissance drones caught sight of something chilling. A vast armored column, larger than the day before, was assembling east of the Kolmis River. This time, it was not just North Korean T-90s. Mixed formations of Russian T-80s, heavy artillery batteries, and North Korean BMP carriers stretched as far as the eye could see. Suicide drones circled above, escorted by electronic warfare aircraft that jammed Ukrainian frequencies. This was no probe. It was the prelude to a counter-offensive. The open question. As the sun rose, Ukrainian soldiers reinforced trenches, checked their weapons, and waited. Engineers worked overnight to prepare fallback lines. Artillery crews whispered quiet prayers over their guns.